Keep it locked to A Square Podcast. That's right.
What up, baby?
Hey, this K Kemp, and you rocking with the A Square Podcast.
Be sure to click and subscribe.
Cornbread.
What up, dog? DJ A-Ron, A Square Podcast.
Good information on tricks to the trade.
Make sure you subscribe.
All right, A Square Podcast. This is your boy DJ A-Ron alongside my brother, as always, Antonio, aka Cornbread. We have called him Cornbread since the day he was born. He was Cornbread. And here we are today with a special guest. And Antonio, please, would you do the honors of introducing our guest today?
Well, definitely. This is, breast cancer month, man. So we have to, get it out. I like the shirt, DJ. The shirt, man. So breast cancer month always, man. It's the feel good season, man. You always want to, help out others. That's what breast cancer awareness puts me in the giving mode, right? Because you don't know what people are going through. And so today we have a philanthropist, a nonprofit owner, and I'm just going to say an overall good person, man. I've had plenty of conversations with this individual. We've had some deep conversations, and hopefully we'll get into some things today. So welcome to the podcast, Lisa Flowers Jones. How about that?
There you go.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. It's the first podcast I've ever done.
Hey,
we love it.
There we go.
Y'all, that's exciting.
We definitely want to give you opportunity to introduce yourself to our listeners out there. So you could tell us where you grew up, if you went to school somewhere, you got kids, everything, whatever you want to talk about before we get into the nitty gritty.
Okay. So my name's Lisa Flowers Jones. I'm the executive director of House Proud Atlanta. House Proud is a small nonprofit. And when I say small, I mean staff of 2 small. It's a small nonprofit, and we do no-cost repairs for seniors, for the disabled, for veterans, anything to keep them warm, safe, and dry. So think roofing, plumbing, electrical repairs, floor stabilization, and nowadays a lot of painting and beautification, but I'll get into that later. Our city's changing a lot, and so I don't know how long I have to talk, but that is definitely something that I want to discuss while we're on the podcast. I love the work that I do. I'm very passionate about it because I was raised fairly poor in the country. I am from Alabama, from a little town called Sprague. I give you $50 a piece if either one of you heard Sprague, Alabama.
I thought you said spray at first. I was like, all right, I don't know what's going on.
It's called Sprague, 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 Alabama. Teeny tiny town. My parents were elderly. My mom was in her 40s when I was born. My dad was in his 60s. If my dad were alive, my dad would be almost 110. So, I was raised by older parents. And we lived in kind of an old rundown house in the country with a tin roof. It leaked. There was no central air, no central heat. It had a big pot belly like a stove in the middle of the house. That's how we heated the house. It was a great upbringing, but I lived in a house that wasn't up to par. I was always embarrassed for kids on the bus to see my house. I was, we were always a little cold in the winter, a little too hot in the summer. We had that big box fan with the blades that could take your hand off with no cover on it, like that deal, right? In rural Alabama, it was a great upbringing, but, brought up in a house that was kind of falling down around us. So me and my dad and my mom, to a lesser degree, would try to fix it up, right? You get whatever extra money you have, and you try to patch the roof, or, you try to patch the screen door because the vermin are getting in, or patch the screens, or, make the floor stronger. Well, one night we were sleeping and the ceiling falls in on us. And that was, I think, like a scary moment, right? Those things that you remember for your whole life.
Right.
And I think from then on, I've been set on this path to want to help people who live in houses that aren't so great, right? So anyway, enough about me. I went to University of Alabama. I've been in Atlanta since 1998. I've been in nonprofit 26 years, and I've been doing this work in housing with House Proud and similar iterations of House Proud now for, oh my goodness, this is year 19 next year. Wow. Year 19 next year. So I love my work. I love working with seniors. We do a lot of good work with the small staff. And I enjoy what I do. So I won't just talk. I'll let y'all ask some
No,
questions.
man, this
Yeah,
is your
good.
show. I told you, we're
That's what we
guests.
want.
We're guests. I would like to know. First of all, did you have any siblings, or is just you're a single?
No,
child?
no,
Okay.
no. I don't know how many people see your podcast. My mom might get mad at me. Let's see how I put it. My Papa was a Rolling Stone. Let's put it like that.
Okay. All
So
right,
I have siblings. I have older siblings. I have two sisters that are just a little bit older than I am from my dad, and then I had four other siblings from my mom. One of them passed away, unfortunately.
all right.
My oldest sibling is almost 70. I'm the youngest, right? I'm
Okay.
almost 50. She's almost 70. She's old enough to be my mom. So I was raised as an only child because by the time I came along, the brother right next to me was 14 when I was born, and then he went off to University of Alabama by the time I was 3. He went into
Right.
school early. And so the rest of the time was just me and my mom and dad. And my mom and dad weren't together, but he was at the house with us all the time. So it was really just my mom and myself in the country, kind of alone, until my dad would come visit and try to help us fix up the house and teach me how to fish. And I'm such a tomboy, but anyway.
Love it. I would like to know, so where did because we have like a lot of people who have businesses on here as well, and love to give back and things like that. So where did the concept of, let's say, House Proud begin? What is it start? How did it start? What was the progress to get to kind of where we are now? Because that journey, somebody's out here trying to learn. We have people who are in college or people who are 40, 50 who want to start something, so how did that whole process begin?
So House Proud started off as a program of a nonprofit called the Atlanta Community Tool Bank. So the Atlanta Community Tool Bank was started by a fellow named Jeff Woodward back in the 90s. Early 90s, this attorney who lived in Summerhill, Peoplestown, like right downtown Atlanta, before it was what it is today. He lived in downtown Atlanta and had lots of senior neighbors. And so he and some of his friends determined, we're kind of urban pioneers. We need to be helping these folks in these neighborhoods that we're kind of coming into to make sure their homes are in good shape, right? Mm-hmm. He had senior neighbors who had, much like my upbringing, ceilings falling in and roofs that were leaking and plumbing issues. And so he and his friends on the weekends would take their cars and go to Home Depot and buy up a bunch of stuff and rent ladders and patch up their homes. So after a while, it became such a big thing. They started to gather all these tools. They had more tools than they had a place to put them. So they bought an old building in downtown Atlanta, an old warehouse, and started to store the tools there. People started to see that they had a lot of tools and wanted to borrow them. So they started a nonprofit from that. So basically what happened was it was a home repair concept, wasn't even a program, but a home repair initiative that gave birth to a tool lending nonprofit, right? Where people would come from churches and schools and other nonprofits to borrow their tools for free. That then years later, if we fast forward to like 2008, 2009, it spinned off into two separate nonprofits. So Tool Bank still exists. It's a nonprofit that has affiliates all over the country and in Puerto Rico, right?
Wow.
But they, in 2008, determined, look, man, we're growing so much. We have a program that does no-cost repairs for seniors. And then we have this other program that loans tools to nonprofits and churches and schools. Smart. And they're trying to coexist under one umbrella. So if you're on an elevator with somebody that said, what do you do for a living? And you're like, well, I work for this nonprofit and it loans tools over here and then it does no-cost repairs over here. By the time you get to the bottom floor, they're like, okay, so do you loan tools to old people? Is that like, what do y'all do? I'm confused. So the concept was great, but the mission was convoluted because it was two missions in one, right? You can't have two very disparate but powerful missions existing under the same umbrella without there being, some one overgrowing the other. Right. So as we were growing the same rate, back in 2008, a group of board members and myself and some other folks got together and said, look, we need to do an environmental review and figure out can this little nugget of a possible nonprofit that does home repairs and does them well for a handful of seniors, can it exist on its own? Because this tool bank thing is trying to expand all over the country. And if we're going to replicate, we want to replicate a clean model, right? Nobody wants to replicate this convoluted model. So it was determined that we ran clean, we ran well, we ran lean, and that instead of sunsetting it all together or merging it into another nonprofit, how about give that little Lisa and some folks that are spinning off from the board a chance to see if they can make this thing stick?
Right.
So we became our own separate nonprofit, totally officially January 1 of 2012.
Okay.
Our first year, 990s, we brought in about $60,000, a little over 50, close to 60, 50 something, close to $60,000. And that was back in 2000, end of 2011 to 2012. Now we're on track to probably bring in about definitely 1.5, maybe even closer to 1.8, depending on how the end of the year happens. $1.8 million.
1.8 million. Hold on.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love
Right.
it.
We'll definitely get to
Amazing.
1.5, depending on this last grant that I pray comes through before the end of the year. We might get to 1.8. And so we've grown from this little nugget of a wannabe nonprofit with me on folks' roofs and under their houses and, young doing the work with volunteers to this nonprofit that is now been on the Today Show and the Kelly Clarkson Show and in magazines, Wanna Say Magazine, and has partners like the Home Depot Foundation and Tyler Perry Foundation and the Arthur Blank Foundation and Ron and Lisa Brill Foundation, like all these major heavy hitters, and we still just a staff of 2. But I'm not on roofs anymore. I'm old now. I got kids. I can't be on nobody's roof. I got bags. I can't be on nobody's
man,
roof.
stop it, man. You look good. You look good. Stop it.
We've changed our model now to where we galvanize. God, this year we'll probably galvanize about 1,400 or 1,500 volunteers to do beautification, to do painting and landscaping, and a little bit of carpentry work. And we're using all this dollars that come in through these organizations and companies and foundations to pay licensed, skilled, bonded contractors to do the roofing and plumbing and electrical. So the only way we're able to do the volume of 200 or more houses a year is because with a staff of 2 is because we take the dollars and pour it back into the community. Right. By vetting really wonderful general contractors, roofers, plumbers, electricians, heating and air people. That's the only way we're able to do it. And we bring out, like in 2019, before COVID, we brought out 69 groups of volunteers to work on 69 homes. Wow. But that's painting and landscaping. It was important then, but it's even more important now because we all know what's happening with the housing market in Atlanta. Now it's softening a little bit, but not a lot because Atlanta has low housing supply. So, the home that I live in East Point, I bought in 2007 for about $105,000. Now it's worth 3 times that. And over 3 times that. I would not be able to purchase the house that I live in now. There's no way. I wouldn't be able. I'm one person with kids. I couldn't do it, right? Right. So that is what's happening to our seniors, is that they live in neighborhoods that are changing around them, right? Their senior neighbors are dying off or going into high rises, but there's still a lot of seniors who want to stay, still of sound mind, and they want to stay in their homes, right? And the only way for them to be able to stay is if they have support, and we are the advocates and the support for them. We come in and do the roof. We come in and put up handrails or give them a ADA toilets or widen their doorways or remodel their bathrooms so that they can get in a walk-in shower with a wheelchair, right? And if we bring out groups that can also paint and beautify, then you don't have to worry about the new neighbors calling code enforcement on you. Because it happens. You don't have to worry about these sneaky ass investors Sorry, you can.
No, you good.
No,
You
no,
good.
say
You
it
good.
again. Say it again. Say it again.
Sneaky ass
There we
investors
go. There.
that want to come in and steal their equity and say,
Yep.
hey, Miss Charlotte, I don't know why code enforcement keeps coming to your house, although I've called them 10 times, but we
Yep.
can help you. I'll give you $120,000 for this house that they bought for $50,000. So they're like, man, he's giving me over twice what I purchased
Mhm.
this house for that's paid for. Then they take $120,000 and realize they can't buy a trailer home for that.
Facts.
Not they can't buy anything in the city. Can't buy a
Not in Atlanta.
condo.
Not in
You can't
Atlanta.
even with the market starting to soften ever so slightly, you can't buy anything for this in this city that's livable for less than $200,000. Period. And a lot of my seniors don't drive, and they rely on public transportation, or they rely on transportation services or family to get them to appointments in the grocery store and the like. That doesn't exist in the same way in the exurbs. And nowadays, you can't even buy anything inexpensive in the exurbs. It used to be just drive until you can afford something. Get
Right.
on out to Social Circle or Macon or Jonesboro, you'll afford something. Not anymore. Housing is expensive everywhere.
It is.
So what we've been doing is trying to evolve with the changes that have happened in the market and in the community. We've always done roofing and plumbing and electrical. We've always done a little bit of beautification. But now beautification of homes is almost like a safety issue, because if your house doesn't look good and all the other houses do, then people are going to call code enforcement on you, and they probably don't want you there, unfortunately.
Right.
So we paint the homes beautiful colors, modern colors. We put up modern numbers if they so choose, brand new mailbox. We'll build like herb gardens. We'll get volunteers to build them floating decks with like nice little umbrellas. We make these homes look good so that they can feel prideful about their homes and where they live. They don't have to worry about code enforcement, and they fit in with their neighbors. We also try to educate them on what their homes are worth. And we try to educate the volunteers that come out, because some of them, let's face it, of the thousands of volunteers that come out, some of them are gentrifiers. Not a bad thing. Change happens. But we try to educate them. Instead of calling code enforcement on Miss Bessie because her grass is high, why don't you take your tail over there and cut her grass?
Yep.
So we have a whole campaign called the Be Neighborly campaign, where, and we had a Be Neighborly fair recently, where we bring people out and talk to them about some of the housing issues that are affecting seniors right now. And we talk to people about, look, man, especially when COVID was really bad, offer to go get your senior neighbor's medication. Figure out who used to live in your house. Figure out the history of their home. Push in their garbage can without them asking. When you cut your little grass, go cut theirs, right?
Facts.
Make friends with these people in these neighborhoods who have undergirded the neighborhoods when you were probably a twinkle in your mama's eye, right?
Yeah.
Make friends with them, because when you have your tail at work in Buckhead or wherever, guess who's looking out the window to make sure that nobody is stealing you and your dog and all your valuables and your TV? Guess who's watching out for you? Miss Bessie, that you want out of your neighborhood so much.
Because back then they used to, what I've noticed from when I was growing up till now is that people were neighborly. Now it is people don't you barely get away.
We are siloed. So siloed.
Like you
Not
said,
me. I know all my neighbors.
You know, that's how I feel. And it's like I remember the times where people would do like what you said, instead of calling somebody to be like, hey, oh, they didn't cut their grass, or they didn't do this, or whatever the case may be, you would just do it for them, or you would just show up and ask, hey, do you need your lawn mowed? Do you need this? I feel like we don't have that. Like even in my old neighborhood now where my grandmother currently lives, everybody of her age, they're gone. So the people that are there now are the grandkids or great grandkids or whatever, and they're not so neighborly. They don't do anything like so. With the exception of one, he comes and he'll take her trash, to the curb or whatever the case may be. But it's like, what happened to that?
Well, y'all don't get me in some deep some philosophical conversation that you're gonna have to cut
I
out.
want to know. I want to know.
We have changed, man. I was raised by older people,
Right.
right? And they instilled me with a sense of we're all in this thing together,
That's
right?
right.
We're all in it together. So if she's not doing good over there, then you're not really doing well either. If you could help her, right?
That's
When
right.
my dad passed away, we found that he had given away so much money to the church and all these charities. You know, we didn't know, but he just was always like, I can't stand to see anybody hungry. I can't stand to see anybody cold. And he didn't have a lot of money. But now we live in a city. No offense, I love Atlanta, but we live in a nation, in a city, in a world where everybody is like, let me see if I can get the most for me. Let me see if I can get the biggest house I can afford. It's just me, but let me see if I can get the biggest house I can afford because it's going to make me feel good about who I am, right? My value is so tied into all this materialistic mess that we've lost sight of how important it is that we still have a handful of seniors here who are valuable, beautiful people with beautiful stories, right? And that has just changed. It's just that our culture has changed. You know, we didn't. I'm an old chick, right? So when I grew up, we didn't have Facebook, and we didn't have it. And I lived in the country with seniors that they were my entertainment. And then when I got a little older, by the time I made 14, it was around 14, we moved to the city and we did have neighbors. But even then, you got to know your neighbors. We all helped each other. None of us were rich. We were better than we were doing in the country, but none of us were rich. And so there was a sense of camaraderie and neighborliness that is just not present in the younger, no offense to our 20s and 30s, but
Oh,
the 20,
man, that's cool.
the
Yeah.
20 and 30-year-olds are like, how many Gucci bags can I get?
Right.
And how big can my closet be so I can show off all my red bottom shoes, right? Sell 5 pairs of them red bottoms and give to an organization. You can do both if you have the means to do it.
Or
Don't get me wrong.
start your own organization.
Or
How about
start your
that?
own
Why don't you make your own
organization.
red bottoms so you can profit from it?
Exactly. And so I don't mean to be offensive. If you like designer things, I don't. But if you do, that's great. But what I'm saying is we just have a different culture now with the younger folk that it seems like they don't give back as much. And if they do, it's for a photo op.
They
right?
want the
It's
recognition.
they
They
want
want
the recognition.
absolutely.
It's like, yeah, I'm volunteering a little bit, but let me show you how good I look while I'm doing it. Or let me show you a picture of me giving someone, So anyway, you might want to cut all that out because
No,
No,
I don't.
never.
I
I don't
don't.
want to.
I
I don't want
don't.
to get in trouble because some
Nuh-uh.
of our best volunteers are younger people. I'm not saying that's across the board,
Yeah.
but you ask what has changed. We're
Yeah.
siloed, and
Yeah.
the reason we're siloed is because where's my phone? This right here.
Yeah.
Everybody got a computer in their pocket. Now my computer is broke up, but everybody's got a computer in their pocket. So if you're bored or you're feeling depressed or you not happy, you're gonna scroll. I love Facebook too. I get it. Or you're gonna look for advice, or you're gonna text somebody from far away. Where back in the day, if I was depressed or sad or heartbroken or happy or whatever, I picked up our rotary phone and called my best friend Delilah and be like,
talk.
girl, and we talk.
Yeah.
And once you lose that sense of real physical connection with people, then you don't see people the same way that you used to, right? The thing I love House Proud. Anybody who knows me knows a few things. I love my kids and I love House Proud, right? The thing I love so much about House Proud is that we connect with these homeowners on a human level. So Lori, who is like my right hand, I call her my work wife, my right hand, we went out yesterday to talk to veterans and talk to seniors that we're going to serve on some upcoming volunteer days with our friends from the Home Depot Foundation. We love Home Depot. So
what are those dates too? You want to say those? Remember?
It's only for our Home Depot folks.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Okay.
It's in October, from October the 6th through November the 11th, right around Veterans Day. We'll be working on 26 houses with 26 groups of volunteers in a very short period of time,
Okay.
led by contractors with lots of volunteers, landscaping and painting, making the houses look great. So we're coordinating this whole thing yesterday, meeting new people and learning about them. And it was such a beautiful day. Like, we got to learn about folks who have suffered loss, people who have been part of the civil rights movement, people who have taken in, taken in family members, like multi-generational households that have taken in family members. These seniors are amazing and dynamic. And I think, unfortunately, people just don't see seniors as, they kind of, oh, well, that's just grandma. They don't really think about them unless it's your grandma. Now, maybe you have a special warm place for her. But I just don't think people herald seniors the way that they used to. Because when I was growing up, my little old daddy, people loved him. This little old man still riding bikes and real giving and real loving. And people met him with so much reverence and respect. And this wasn't a wealthy man, but there was so much respect for the fact that someone had lived this long and was still a good guy doing good things out in the community. Now what we herald is, who got the new Tesla, or who, social media, the Kardashians, they're fine, but they herald things that are about money and perceived power. Right?
So Lisa, let's talk me through, let's say I'm a listener and I have a 70-year-old mother or father, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I want them to apply for House Proud. What are the qualifications for that to go through, or is there a waiting list, or is it it's only in Atlanta, correct? Or no? Just talk us through that.
We have a small House Proud in Birmingham, Alabama. It's just a handful of folks that we serve there. But the majority of the work that we do is right here in Atlanta. We are open to go to other areas as funding allows. But most of our funding right now, we have a lot of funding for veterans and for folks that live on Atlanta's west side. Mm-hmm. But we keep our waiting list open for people all throughout Metro Atlanta, because you never know when funding comes through for East Point or for Decatur or for DeKalb County, right? We're hoping, to get more of that funding. In order to qualify, you have to be at least 55 years of age. You have to be low income. And for us, low income means that you bring home 80% or less of AMI. That's Atlanta's area medium income, which I think for one person in the household right now is in the mid 40s. So vast majority of the seniors we've ever served are well below that. Most of our seniors bring in $1,000, $1,200 a month or less. And if we're talking about household where it's, maybe grandma and granddad, they might bring in $2,000, mm-hmm. They usually don't bring in very much. And so they also have to be own or be buying their home. We don't serve renters because we feel like landlords should take care of their renters. Right. And you have to have basic homeowners insurance. And if you don't have basic homeowners insurance, we can help you try to get it. So not a lot of qualifications. You just need to be a senior and live in Atlanta, and we will put you on the waiting list. Or if we have immediate funding, like in the case of our veteran funding, we've gotten veteran funding from different sources. So we still have some, we got a lot that we're expending right now because we have a lot of veterans on our waiting list. So as we work through them, we'll probably still have a little bit of funding left to be able to serve veterans more quickly than some of our other demographics. So it's a great program. It's a great nonprofit. We believe in it. If someone's interested, they can go to our website, which is houseproudatlanta.org, find more information, or they can call us. Our mainline number is 404-464-5950. I'm so used to giving out my cell phone.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
My cell phone number, and it's gone bad for me. So I was like, wait. Let me not do that. 404-464-5950 is our mainline number. Yeah. And we have folks who will take your messages. Have a messaging service. They'll take your messages, they'll filter those to us, and we'll call and let you know if you qualify, if we, how long our waiting list is, how much we can help you, if we can help you immediately.
Yeah. And is it, I wanted to ask this, You mentioned before you guys go in and you'll sit down and you'll speak with somebody about, what the value of their home is or whatever the case may be. I found that it has been difficult for me to speak to some people in my family who have homes about the value of their homes and looking at the fact that there is value there instead of them feeling like, oh, it's just my house. It's just, it's just that. So do you have issues at times? Do you guys ever have issues when you try to, speak to someone that's, a little older about seeing the value in their home?
I think not now. Now, we might have some years ago, but seniors are really starting to sort of get it now because they get calls. I get calls all day long, and I live in a little baby house. They get calls all day long and texts and letters and all day long from people saying, hey, I'll give you a cash offer on your house. So I think a lot of our seniors are sort of starting to get it that, okay, there must be some value here.
Okay.
They don't exactly know how much, but they know if this many people are calling me, trying to get me to sell my home, it must be something to this, right?
Right.
And we build such a strong, loving relationship with our homeowners. I don't think they even really question that, we're coming from a warm place, right? Lori, who is my right hand, is a realtor. She doesn't do any transactions anywhere in the city. She only goes way out in the suburbs to do any of her, realty transactions. But because she's a realtor, she has access to a lot of information, right? And she's able to sit down with them at times and be like, look, I mean, you could get an appraisal, but I'm telling you, from what I'm seeing here, approximately your house is worth X amount, right? And they believe her. And they believe her because they know she cares for them and that we care for them. And they know that because we take time to build relationships with them. The seniors who are left are the ones that don't really want to sell. They want to stay. And they know that they have some equity in their home. I do a lot of research about housing. I'm constantly looking up stats about housing in the city. Rent in this city is extremely high, right? The number of houses that we have, our housing supply is low. Wages are not that high in this city. So if you put all these factors together, what we have is a bit of a perfect storm for what we're seeing now, which is multi-generational households. So what's happening is if you make $20 or $22 an hour, you're not going to be able to afford to purchase a house in this city, period. You're just not. It's unfortunate. And you probably aren't going to be able to afford rent in a really good area. It's going to be hard for you to be able to afford rent.
For the listeners out there, so the average income of to be comfortable in Georgia is like $55,000. That's just to be comfortable, right? That's the minimum. And like you said, some people are only making 30 or 40, right? Now, if you have children,
it's even more than that. Take it from someone who has children. Children are expensive. So if you have children, it's even more than that. So what's happening is the average rents have gone up so exponentially in this city that now the average rent for a one bedroom is $1,750.
Yep.
Now, if you start talking about, I've got kids, so I need a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom, forget about it. We're talking $3,000, $3,500. So grandchildren and great-grands or children and grandchildren are starting to move back in with grandma and grandpa because they got to have a place to live. And we don't have enough housing. We don't have enough housing for rent. And if we do, you got to make a lot of money to live in it. You can't buy housing. And now that interest rates have gone up, good luck affording it, right? Good luck. And so there's so much nuance to this housing market in a city like Atlanta. I did more research and learned that Atlanta is one of the cities with the least affordable housing. Not that the housing costs the most. The gap between what the average amount a citizen brings in versus what it costs to live is the greatest right here in Atlanta.
Yep.
Wow.
So that makes what we do even more important. I've had to alter the way that we ask for money in many ways, where I'm going to funders and say, yes, I want grandma and grandpa to be able to keep their homes because they're sitting on their wealth. The equity, most people, the majority of the wealth that they have is within the equity of their home.
Mhm.
Especially if you're talking about seniors who don't really have 401ks and 403bs and IRA, Roth IRAs.
Oh,
The
sure.
vast majority of their money is in the equity of their home. And let's say, God forbid, at some point they pass away, they're going to leave that money behind as generational wealth. And we Black and brown people have less generational wealth than anybody. And so the work that we do now, I have to position it not just we want to keep grandma and grandpa, Miss Bessie, warm, safe, and dry. Was my aunt's name, Miss Bessie. Warm, safe, and dry. We want to keep them warm, safe, and dry. But it's bigger than that now. Now we need to keep them warm, safe, and dry. Now we got to keep her kids and grandkids warm, safe, and dry. And now we need to try to protect her from the vultures who want to come and steal her equity. And that equity could be used for education for the next couple of generations. That equity could be used for whether they tap into it while they're still alive or they leave that house behind for their children and grandchildren. You want to go to FAMU, it costs a lot of money. If you don't get a full scholarship, we can tap into the equity of the home. Or if, God forbid, grandma decides she wants to move to a high rise or she passes away, she sells that house instead of some investor from Chicago or DC or somewhere else in the world having that equity. You've invested in this house and been in this house for 40 years. Damn it, your family needs to get that. And use that to start a business because that's why we're behind. We don't have any. I had to start from zero. I love my mom and dad, but I had to start from zero, -zero.com.
Hey, Lisa, man, you ready to start the show? Because I got some questions for you, man. You ready? This
Yes.
this the part of the show where things get real, man.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
Let's talk about the dark side of this business, though.
Yeah.
Two things. I think it's disgusting that you, as a nonprofit, have to help out veterans. I think that's sick to me.
Aw.
Other people should be helping these veterans, right? Not you. Like they fought for our country.
I
Why do
know,
they
but
have? Why do they
I'm
need
afraid
help,
you're trying to get me in trouble.
No,
Why do
of
they need-
course.
bro? Like that's a
one of our favorite
American should be doing it,
demographics.
right? And that's what I'm saying. The America should be doing this, is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like
I
that shouldn't be your demographic. That's one
I
thing.
got it.
Second, can you talk about? You said vultures, right? And I'm gonna get real in the Black community. Some of their relatives are some of these vultures. They move in with their grandparents and
Yeah.
they live off of them. They're not paying bills, not paying mortgages, rent. They destroying the house and not fixing it up. So
Yeah.
can you talk a little bit
Y'all,
about
how
how
real you want to
Hey,
get?
One
questions?
we
This is the A
million.
Square
can
podcast.
redo this after 5 and I can have a glass of wine and we can
Hey
get
man,
real
hey, I'm just putting it out there. So I mean, I know it's not easy. It's not always flowers when you walk into
Yeah.
these houses,
It's
right?
not.
So
Take some points. A very small person, right? I'm 4'10", I'm very tiny, but I'm not afraid of much at all. And I had to get really ugly and respectfully mean the other day with a grandchild who's literally laying. And it's rare. It doesn't happen a lot. Now, luckily, most of our multi-generational households, they're just all trying to work together, trying to keep their heads above water. But you're right. There are some few where I have to get in their tails. And I'm an elder at this point. I'm damn near 50. So if you on your 20s and you sitting on grandpa's couch doing nothing and you gonna cuss out my contractor, then get ready because I'm coming for your ass.
that's
And
correct.
that's the kind of things that I have to do from time to time where I'm like, sir, I'm not sure who you are and what you thought this was, but it's not that. We're trying to help your grandfather. I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
But when we bring these volunteers out tomorrow, could you not be here? Please and thank you.
Right.
And I'm not afraid. I'm not. I've been working in these communities now for almost 20 years. I have deep love for my people, for anybody who lives in these communities and need help, no matter their race, whatever. I have deep love for the folks who are low income, for seniors. Who I have issue with are that handful that are vultures. any kind of vultures. If you're a vulture against a senior, something is wrong with you. Whether you're
Facts.
the type of vulture who is, I am, and we've had a few of these, very few, but a few, I am the son or daughter that's trying to steal the house from grandma or grandpa who has dementia while they're still alive. And we've had that where we've had to try to help them along. And they say, hey, man, I didn't get my tax statement, you know, to pay my taxes, my home taxes, you know, I got homestead exemption where I never got the bill. And then when I went down there, they said the bill was really high and I don't understand why. And then, you know, Lori, who is on staff, will dig around and say, because the house is not in your name anymore. Because those documents that your daughter had you to sign, she had somebody notarize illegally.
What?
And now that house belongs to her. And so she's paying taxes according to a 45-year-old instead of a 75-year-old.
What?
Real story, y'all.
Wow.
And it happens every once in a while. And so this work we do goes deeper than just, we're going to come put a roof on your house and have a nice day. Psychologically, we have to sit down with the homeowner and say, can we get you somebody who can help counsel you through this? Because that was a deep betrayal. We have to connect them with attorneys and help them decide if they're going to press charges. Like every once in a while, it gets real deep. We have to go with them to code enforcement court and make sure that they don't end up with a bench warrant for not showing up to court, and talk to the judge about the fact that, hey, man, we don't quite have the funding yet, or they're still on the waiting list. But we're going to get that roof done, or write a letter and say, we're going to get the fascia and the painting done. Just give us a few more weeks, right? So it's a heavy job. And yes, it goes back to what I said initially, which is, I've only been around almost 48 years, but people have changed. Yeah. In my day and age, I can't imagine any of my friends trying to steal their parents' house. I can't imagine.
Happens.
But it happens. Yeah. I can't imagine, you know, some, you know, slick talking investor coming and scamming a senior out of a house and being at, how do you sleep at night?
Shit.
And actually, that I'm glad you said that, because that was going to be my next question to you. You're very passionate about your work. I can tell by your energy that you love what you do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So how do you disconnect when you go home? How do you disconnect? How do you relax? How do you know what I'm saying? Like, how do you do that? Yeah. Because I can literally tell, like, it's probably on your mind all day.
She got 30 things she got to do right now. Bro.
Yeah. Right now, I'm like, ooh, I got to do this. I have kids, thank God, because to be honest, if I didn't have children, this would probably consume most of my life. I don't marry well. I don't stay married well because I'm so consumed with this work. So, and with my children. So anybody with me has to realize that if you're going to be along for the ride, you're going to have to come out and volunteer for House Proud, and you're going to have to hang out with these kids, because that's my life.
Yeah.
Right. So the way that I disconnect is, you know, especially during COVID, it was really hard because we weren't going into the office.
Right.
So there was no delineation between home and work. So I would work. My kids were around the table doing their work via Zoom. I'm in another room doing work via Zoom. And then we might play a little bit, but then I'm right back to work, because there was I'll leave the office. And then psychologically, there's a cutoff between House Proud Lisa and Home Lisa. House Proud Lisa and Home Lisa was the same chick, right? So, you know, that has been a struggle, and I've had to learn how to turn it off. Because when I tell you, if I go get my nails done, which I'm about to get done for a gala we have tomorrow night, I'm talking to the lady trying to learn some Korean so I can try to figure out how to tell her about House Proud. If I go to the gynecologist, I'm telling him about the House Proud. If I'm at the dentist knows all about House Proud.
That's hilarious.
Like wherever, if I'm getting my hair done, my little ladies know all about House Proud.
Amazing.
It is such a part of my life.
It's you. It's who you are. It's who you are.
I am. Yeah. I've been doing this work for 20 years. I've been in nonprofit 26 years. And I have a deep connection to it because I've lived the life some of these homeowners have lived in not so great houses. And I was raised with seniors. So it's the two things, that I know so well manifest into a career. And so we fight every day trying to get more and more and more and more money, because even though the city is changing, we still got a long waiting list.
Yeah.
And even though a lot of the seniors have died and moved on, it just shifts. Now we got people calling us from Clayton County because they moved down there, or there's seniors in other areas who are calling, but it's like we'll probably never work ourselves out of a job. We'll just end up moving to the next area that's gentrifying. And our big passion now is we want House Proud to be everywhere. We get calls. We were on Kelly Clarkson early last year. And now we get calls from all over the country from people like, well, where's the House Proud in Portland? Baby, ain't no House Proud in Portland. What we would love for it to be, or where's the, especially like, I'm in Jackson, Mississippi. We really need this. How do we get one started? So at some point, we would love to have an arm similar to Tool Bank that replicates all over the country.
Right.
Because there's a need for it. I think we do the model well, and it's not like there aren't other home repair, company nonprofits around the country. There are, and they do great work. But there's a need for more, clearly, because there's so much more need than there is money to support it. And I think we run our model clean. We run our model well. We reconcile our books at the end of every month. And because of that, we're able to bring in more and more and more money. And we're passionate about it, which means we're able to bring in more partners, more contractors. It's like a family. Our contractors are like, they'll donate time, they'll donate money, they'll donate services. Not completely, of course. They got to live too. But they'll come out and donate their time to lead groups of volunteers, right? And so even though it's just two of us on staff, we have all these arms and legs that come to us, or that we reach out to and connect with us because they know that we believe in this, right? They don't have a doubt. If you're around Lloyd or I for any length of time, they're like, oh, them chicks love them some House Proud. What else? What, do they do anything else? Like, no, drink after hours and watch bad TV. That's about it. And hang out with our kids and grandkids. That's it.
I love it. To the listeners out here, we got Lisa Flowers Jones joining us, man. I want to change the direction from House Proud, where you love giving, but a show did something for you, right? And we're talking about Netflix. We got to talk about it to the listeners out there, because we need them to see. Because I think you underplaying how much you love about it. It's coming through this TV,
it's coming through.
You really do this though.
Yeah.
And I think people see that. I think people see it, and I'm so glad that somebody helped you out. So to the listeners out there, make sure you check out. She made it on the show, Netflix. It's called Instant Dream Home.
That's right.
She's on episode 6.
Mm-hmm.
So please let the listeners know kind of how was that experience of them surprising you. Was it really a surprise? You know what I'm saying? Give us a little behind the scenes if you can. And then, how is that?
Somewhat of a surprise.
Yeah. Okay.
So my coworker, Lori, who I've been talking about a lot, we're very close. And so the backstory is there's a young lady who's I've known for a long time. Her mom died, was killed actually. And so she came to live with me and my kids. But our house was small. We're talking about a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, right? Like, I guess you kind of gathered from me by now, I ain't no flashy chick. And so I bought this little house in East Point between my various and sundry marriages. I bought this little house in East Point back when it was just me and a dog, a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. That's all I needed. I didn't make a lot of money. I was working for Tool Bank, which was the precursor to House Proud, for the House Proud program under Tool Bank. And I bought the house that I could afford and fixed it up a little bit. But at that time, it was me and a dog. So fast forward, I get married and get divorced and move on and end up back in this home. But by the time I end up back in this home after divorcing, I have 2 kids. So it's me and 2 kids and a dog in a little 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, right? But that was okay. Well, along the way, we end up, it's such a long story. I won't get into all the nuts and bolts of it.
Yeah.
But I end up being very close with some young ladies who are just wonderful. They're like my daughters, who a young lady needed a place to stay. And their mom, unfortunately, was killed. And so the youngest young lady, who at the time was 11, came to live with me. She decided she wanted to come live with me. And I ended up kind of being like her godmother, right? But so then you end up with all these people with one bathroom in this little house. Yeah. So my coworkers kind of nominated me to be on this Netflix show that would come in and do some renovations. Like, I had no idea what it would be, but they'll come make your house a little nicer.
Right.
And so they kind of tricked us into believing we hadn't gotten chosen for the show.
Yeah.
Made us leave the house for a while, and then when we got back, they had added on a luxury bathroom and an outdoor room, and
redone
my jacked up bathroom.
Cap. No. I don't believe you. You need more, like Jay-Z. Like Jay-Z said, you need more people. No, I don't believe it. Listen, now I watched several episodes of that show. And I seen you. I love it. I think it's an amazing show, but there ain't no way that you gonna tell me I can leave my house for 12 hours or whatever the case may be. Do you know what 12 hours in? 12 hours in Atlanta is.
All I'm gonna say is,
that's a long time.
They had about 200 people. Once at post-production, they'd start telling you how things went down. They had about 200 people.
Okay.
Surrounding this house. Now, I'm not gonna talk about it. You're not gonna get me in trouble.
Yeah. You might have signed something, so it's cool.
At the end of the day, all I'm gonna say is they did this house in an amazingly short period of time.
Wow.
Amazingly short period of time. They pulled this off because of the sheer volume of. They had people. My neighbors was dropping dime like.
What's going on?
What's going on?
Yeah.
Is
your house being repossessed?
my one neighbor, because like I said, I'm very neighborly. I know all my neighbors. I know the seniors. I know the young ones. I know all my neighbors. My senior called me and said, "Girl, what's going on? They got a truck out here. They taking all your stuff out. Everything. They taking it out in boxes." I was like, "Oh my God. Okay. I'm not gonna worry about it." I was sick, like trying to sneak away from Laura and be like, "Okay, what's going on now? What's going on now?" Trying to figure out how I could get to the house.
Yeah,
they weren't gonna let that happen.
That's cool.
But it was really
that's awesome, though.
Thing. I had a hard time with it because I've been doing this work for a long time, and I make do. Like we're fine. Me and my family are fine. I make okay. We're okay. I'm not used to taking things. I'm not good at.
It's hard.
I'm not good at being like, "Yeah, you got an extra. Yeah, I'll take that." I'm not good at that. I'm better on the
giving end,
because that's kind of been my life in nonprofit, right? And so I struggled. When I tell you I was sick, because this happened a year ago. So from the time that they reveal until the time they actually air the show, you have to stay mum. You have to sign that you'll be mum, not show your house, not tell anybody for a year. And so for that whole year, I was just sick. Like, oh my God, I don't know how I feel about this. I feel like I can't believe someone has done this for me. I'm so blessed and I'm so grateful. But the way that I had to continue to make peace with it is my kids are wonderful. I feel like I'm a decent human being and we give a lot to the world. And I'm like, it's an investment. And when I said on camera a year ago, we're going to double, I'm fired up, that was real. We doubled, pretty much almost double the amount of money we've gotten in thus far. Right. We have greatly increased the number of people that we serve because I'm like, if someone is going to invest like this in me and my family for free, I need to multiply it to make it. It's not like I hadn't already been doing good stuff for the world, but I'm like, No, this is a blessing. And when you get a blessing, it is your job to multiply. I
Right.
believe in multiplying. My
Mhm.
kids know, like, no player, take some of them toys and give them away. You know, like
Facts.
Yeah.
you don't just
Facts.
hoard. You don't just
Facts.
you try to help people and you multiply. So I've made peace with it. Thank God it's aired. Don't send too many people go see that show.
Yeah,
I
man.
still
They gotta watch.
struggle.
Hey,
No, they
My
gotta
onions
see you.
fried. My hair was busted. I was looking rough. Don't send people to see that show. But I'm so grateful. Real talk. I'm grateful to Netflix. I'm grateful to my to my friend and
Yes,
coworkers
absolutely.
yes.
for being willing to nominate me. I'm grateful for my neighbors for putting up with all them working on it and tearing up their yards and the like. Netflix was wonderful to work with. I'm grateful to them. So yeah, send people to watch. I want people to watch it.
There you
There you
go.
go. There you
Netflix
go.
did a good thing for us. But it was hard. Psychologically, it is
Mhm.
counter to what I am accustomed to in my life, right?
Shout
Not
out to
that you
Danielle Brooks too for that was pretty cool to
love
see her.
her.
That
I
was pretty
wish she
cool.
could be my bestie friend. She's so sweet. And real,
Yeah.
she's just so sweet. And she looks so much like my baby girl, the young lady I was talking about.
Mhm.
They look alike to me.
Mhm.
And so
They
I
did.
was endeared to her. I was like, oh, look at your little dimple. You're so cute. Chocolate, pretty smile. You just make me think of my baby girl. So
Yeah.
it
Well,
was
no,
That's
amazing.
awesome.
the podcast appreciates you. Thank
Absolutely.
you
Thank you
for
so much
blessing
for
that
sharing your
episode.
story. Yeah.
Yes.
I guarantee a lot of people might be trying to contact you, or how can people donate? Let people know how they can contact you again so we can get it out there.
HousePrideAtlanta.org. You can go to HousePrideAtlanta.org. We have a few events coming up that you can be part of. You can donate. It's all tax deductible. I'll send you a pretty little handwritten letter saying thank you. I appreciate you. We're very appreciative around the house proud parts.
Yeah.
So yeah, go to HousePrideAtlanta.org. You can give there. And my cell phone number is on the website, which is probably not the best site to give. But if you gotta get to me, you can. We love it. It's
Yeah.
good work. I
That's
can
awesome.
easily, honestly say that I love my job, and they pay me, but it doesn't feel like a job, right? We work. Lori and I talk 7 days a week, and we work easily 6 days a week, every week, because it's just that important.
Right.
It's
I love
important
it.
stuff to do. It's very important.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining the A Square podcast. Again, we are so appreciative of you sharing your story. But as many guests that we do have on this show and that we have had, it really feels good when we talk to somebody that we can feel the energy from them, that they really truly love their job. And
Mhm.
that I appreciate from you. So thank you
Thank you. I
for
do love
joining
my
the A Square
job.
podcast. And
And I appreciate you guys for having me on. I really do.
problem.
Any kind of exposure we can get, I appreciate anyone who wants to give a donation or just reach out to us and give us some words of encouragement, because we love this work. So we appreciate you.
We got you.
all right. And we will let you know when this airs, of course. So if you think back and you take something out, which I already bookmarked what you
Yep,
wanted to
I
take
got
out
you.
earlier.
Yep.
Thank you.
So
We
don't
got
worry
you.
about it. We'll get that out. And yeah, thank you again.
All right. Y'all have a great one. Thank you so
All right,
much.
you too.
Thank you,
Enjoy
Lucy.
your weekend.
You too.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.